Hi there, I'm Adrian and welcome to Hyundai Power Equipment. Today we're going to look at the HYBC5080AV brush cutter. Okay, let's go through the contents of your box then, shall we? I've laid everything out here on the table so we can see what we've got in the box. Right, first of all, we've got the head unit, which has the motor and the top part of the shaft. The operator's handle, we'll go through the assembly of that shortly. The strimming head itself, a little bit of assembly again. This is the actual strimming spool that comes preloaded with cable. Some more cable. The strimming head guard, again, we shall assemble that shortly. Also comes with an 8-tooth brush cutting blade, as well as a usual 3-tooth brush cutting blade. Handy tool kit with all the bits and pieces you're going to need, including the bolts for some of the assembly. A 2-stroke oil mixing bottle. It's got graduated lines on it, I'll go through that a little later. The personal protective equipment, or safety gear as we like to call it. You've got the head shield, which comes in 2 pieces, we'll go through the assembly of that. The ear protection. A pair of working gloves. And the user's harness, which is a great feature. Also, you have the user's manual. A little chart here with the recommended oils. And your warranty registration document, but this can be done online as well. And that's everything you get. So right, we'll go on with some of the first parts of the assembly then. If you go in the little toolkit, you'll find there's a 4 and a 5mm Allen key. If you take the 5mm Allen key, in the handle here you'll see that there's an Allen bolt. So the first job is to remove this Allen bolt. And as you undo it, the little nut will fall out the back. It sits in a little hexagon socket there, so keep hold of the nut. And then remove the Allen bolt. Okay. Having done that, you'll see you've got the handle here. It's got a flat area, and obviously the handle goes on this side, the trigger handle. And this handle will come towards yourself. So when you fit this handle, the on-off switch needs to be pointing towards the other handle, so it's this way round as opposed to this way round. So this way round. And again, you'll see that there's a hole through the shaft here, and that's where the Allen bolt's going to fit through when you push this into position. Now what we've got to do is just have a quick look through the hole and make sure that we're down far enough and that it's lined up. Yep, I can see straight through there. I'll just fit the Allen bolt back into the hole. Put the little hexagonal nut back into the little hexagonal hole. And with the Allen key, I shall do the bolt back up again. Just a little nip at the end. There we are. And that's the trigger handle fitted. So the next step is to fit the handle into the neck here. So, if you squeeze the little cover on the front there, it'll pop open. There's a little ridge here, so just a squeeze from the back and you can pop the cover over and undo the hand wheel. And remove the hand wheel completely. There's a little hinged lid here, it will come away. It's got 2 little bars on the back which hook in here. You don't need to take it completely off, but if it comes off, it's very simple to fit back on. And then locate the handle somewhere in this position here in the little nest. Now, you can move the handle left and right within this area. You can tune that to suit yourself, whatever feels the most comfortable when you're operating the machine, but you can tune that into a different position at a later date. I'll just put it in the centre for the moment. Fold the little flap back over the top, tighten up the hand wheel, close the lid, and that's the handle fitted. So having assembled the handle in the head, put the Allen key back in. Let's just move the head out of the way for now. We'll come back to that later. We'll start on the actual strimming head itself. Now these come with a plastic plug on one end, which is to prevent any dirt going up the shaft and what have you. You know, basically to keep it all clean. I recommend you keep hold of these plugs and keep them in place when you're not using them. Right. So first of all, we need to remove this nut here. It's only finger tight when it's delivered to you. You've got a spacer, and the drive coupling. So the first thing we need to do is to fit the guard. Guarding is very important. and the line trimmer on the guard. Now you'll see that there are 2 holes in the guard here, and in your toolkit a little line trimmer. It goes on this way round with the angle facing in towards the centre. So take the 2 of the large bolts, again the 5mm Allen key, we'll just push them down into the holes. Now I can put the tag on there, which is for cutting the string in the strimmer. Just fasten the 2 nuts on loosely. In the toolkit again, spanner, hold the nut, tighten up the Allen bolt. Oops. Just nip that one. Nip that one and tighten up. And that's the line trimmer fastened to the guard. Next stage is to fasten the guard onto the strimming or trimming head. Having removed all the bits and pieces, you can see it goes lined up like that with the shaft, with the Hyundai facing up, the right way up, and then using the 3 smaller bolts, fasten the guard to the head. This is where the 4mm Allen key comes in. We'll just put them in with the fingers to start with. The 4mm Allen key, the smaller one of the 2. We'll just do these up loosely for the start with. 1, 2, 3. And then we'll tighten them up. Make sure these are quite tight. And that one. And that's the guard fitted. Okay, now we'll go through the 2 different heads, or the 3 different heads that come with this. First of all, if you're going to be using the actual strimming head, first thing you want is the drive spacer. This is the one with a star-shaped hole in the centre, and it's got a cup shape in the back. So the cup shape goes against the head of the machine, like so. Next we've got the strimming head itself, and you'll see that it's got a threaded hole in the back of it. So this actually spins on backwards. It's a left-hand thread. So we'll spin that on by hand. And what you'll notice is in the outside of here, there's a hole in that washer we just put on, and there's a groove in the outside of here. So you can lock the shaft in place. Actually do it on this side so if you can see. Lock the shaft in place with the Allen key and tighten the strimming head. And that's the strimming head fitted. That's how you would normally use it for strimming. Yeah? Okay. So to remove it, exactly the opposite. Line the hole up, put the Allen key in the slot, clockwise to undo it as you're looking up at it. That removes the strimming head. We'll go through putting cable on the spool a little later. Okay, so now you have 2 blades, a 3-tooth blade for brush cutting, and an 8-tooth blade. Fairly obviously a 3-tooth blade. I'll just show you the 8-tooth blade as well while I'm here. And that's the 8-tooth blade. It's a bit difficult to see the teeth with it in its protective guard here. Right. 8 teeth. And fairly obviously 3 teeth. And when you fit these blades, they have to go on one way because of the direction of rotation. Typically you'll see the arrow on there, but the writing side, so the writing, if you can do it upside down so I can show you easily, is away from yourself, so pointing up in the air. So with the drive head still in place with a star shape in the centre, that will sit on the little ring. Then you need the spacer. Now it's got a dome on the top of it, which needs to face away from the blade. That's that. Then you've got the stainless steel cover, which fits it on again, followed lastly by the nut. Again, as we're looking down on this, anti-clockwise to tighten it up. Much the same story again as with the strimmer head. line up the groove. Where is it? There it is. Trying to keep the blade in the right location. That's it. Now we tighten up the nut. Comes with a box spanner in the toolkit again. This blade is actually quite sharp. I've taken the guard off to show you the blade, but probably recommend you do this with the guard in position. So you've still got this guard on, so should your hand slip off the spanner, I'm not going to do it, but it can happen. You're not going to catch yourself on the sharp edges of the blade. So that's pretty much the blade fitted, and as you can see, arrow on the head points this direction, which is the same direction as the blade, and that's the way up it goes with the writing on the top. Exactly the same for the 8/12 blade. And that's how to fit the brush cutting blade. Pretty much that's the assembly of the head done. Exactly the same with the brush cutting blade, that would go on with the 8/12. Exactly the same way in place of that one. That's it. And that's the assembly of that done. So let's show you how the two halves go together. First of all, remove the plug, but hang on to it because it's very good for keeping dirt, grit or any sort of foreign objects from falling into the end of the shaft and dirtying up all the drive when you're storing it in your shed or wherever you're keeping it. So keep hold of it for that purpose. Then remove again the plug from the rear end of the head unit. Hang on to that as well. Now you'll see in the head unit it's got a square hole here, and on the end of the little lever here, which is the locking plunger, it's got a little square peg which fits that hole. So if you put it in out of position, rotate it, it won't click. So I'll show you that. I'll deliberately put it in out of position and show me rotating it until it clicks into the lock position. So lever down, push it in until it hits home, and do you see that click? That's out of position. As I rotate, click, and that's the correct position. Tighten up the handle, and that's how to fit the two halves together. Removal, exactly the same. Undo the locking hand wheel, push the lever down, pull the shaft clean out. We'll refit the plug on there, and we'll refit the plug into there. And that's how you fit the two halves together. Next, we'll move on to something which a lot of people ask us: how to fit the trimmer line into the strimming head. Now I find the simplest way is to charge it up with a full length of line when it's off the unit, but it can just as simply be done when it's on the unit. But as it's a quick job to remove it, it's easy to do it by hand like this. So basically, where the threaded side is, you'll see there are two grooves on either side, and these are where you squeeze the top of the unit to pull it off. That removes the back. So if this were on the unit, you will have now removed this part. Okay, put that spring back on there. Right, there's a spring, doesn't matter which way it goes round, which goes inside there, or it can stay on there. And there's also a little washer, make sure you don't lose that. Right, you'll see there's the bump part that bumps on the ground to feed out the wire, and this part just pulls out. So what we're looking at is how to load the string onto this spindle. Now then, I'll remove the string. Quite a lot on here. It's probably a good 3 meters or so. Right. So if you take, if we said 3 meters of the trimming wire, fold it in half to find the center. If you hold it in your left hand, or in your right hand if you're right-handed, with the bump stop facing away from you, you'll see a groove on the outside. If you hook that center point in the groove and then rotate it away from yourself, so as I'm doing it here, the bump stop's facing the camera and I'm rotating it anti-clockwise, clockwise as you're looking at it, and I'll just fill the spindle up, and as you can see as I'm doing it, I've got one piece of string going either side of that center divide. There's actually quite a lot of string on this one. There we are, nearly there. Leaving 6 or 7 inches or so hanging out. Okay, next step, put that one through that hole, that one through that hole, and it's pretty much ready to go. And then I would place that back onto the unit. Little washer in first. Oops, stuck on my finger. Little washer in first. On with the head. Line up the two slots. Both of them. Here we are. Back together. A two-handed job. Not the sort of thing, I mean, some of these heads, it's really fiddly and it'll take 3 hands to put it together, but none of us have got 3 hands. But a two-handed job, quite simple to do it. And obviously as you're using it and you bump the bump stop, which is spring loaded against that spring against the ground, it'll release more line as and when you need it. So that's pretty much how to thread up the strimmer head. Next we'll move on to some of the safety equipment that comes with your machine. Little bit of assembly needed, not much. So we'll start with the assembly of the head shield. You've got the visor part and the head shield, and you notice a series of tags around the front and a series of holes down the front of the visor. So basically, if you line up the holes with the tags and turn the tags to 180 degrees as you fit them, working your way around from one end to the other. Here we are. Oh, wrong way round. That one, that one. Simple as that, it's fitted, and that's really secure on there. Next thing to do, the ear protectors actually clip into these clips here, and they need to go around the outside of the headband. So, just put it around the outside of the headband. Difficult to show you this, but there's a sloping part on the ear defenders. That one clicks on that side, and that one clicks on that side. And that's it. Job done. Simple as that, really. Okay, I can hear you again now. As I said, the unit also comes with a pair of gloves. Great for safety, especially when dealing with sharp objects and what have you. Next we'll move on to the fuel. Now it's a 2-stroke engine, and it needs a 2-stroke mixture of fuel. Now the bottle here has lots of graduations on it, but it's got a fuel graduation which is 1 litre. What you need to do, and be quite accurate with this, is to fill the bottle with 1 litre of fuel just up to the lower line where it says 1 litre. And this particular model depends on which sort of 2-stroke additive you're using. But the typical good quality 2-stroke additives are at a 40:1 mixture. Some of the cheaper ones you may need to use 25:1, but 40:1 is what we recommend if you're using a good quality 2-stroke oil. So what you'll see is that there is a second line a little bit further up from the fuel line which says 40:1, and you need to fill it up to that level with your 2-stroke oil to top it up for the 40:1 ratio. Should you be using the lower branded oils, you need to come up to the 25:1, so it's a little bit more 2-stroke oil, which gives you 25:1 mixture. So that's your 2-stroke, but that is vitally important. If you don't put 2-stroke oil in this machine, it will seize the engine. Your warranty will be void anyway, but it will seize the engine in a very short time. So be very accurate with the way you mix your 2-stroke oil, and that's why we're giving you a bottle to do the job quite accurately. Next thing we're going to talk about is the harness itself. Now, this is brand new out of the packet, and it can be adjusted to suit the individual. Obviously this isn't going to fit me straight out of the packet. It does have a clip here where it comes in 2 parts, and you'll see the rear plate. So basically what we're going to do is put the rear plate behind and the 2 padded shoulder straps over the shoulders and clip it back together. And as you'll see, it sits on your right hand hip. Now this, I'm not a very big fella, it's sat really low down for me. I mean, my strimmer would be hanging on the floor. As you can see, it's below the table, and all this is a bit sloppy, but it is all adjustable. Again, adjustable on the side here, and again you can bring this up or down using this one. Just above the hip is where I prefer to have mine. So that's the position I would have it in. But again, it's adjustable to suit the individual. Very comfortable this, padded shoulder straps. And when you've got the weight of the machine, I know it's not stupidly heavy, but if you've got a lot of work to do and you could be several hours working with it, you know, it's going to be, and you're just holding it, it's going to be hard work. But if it's hanging on here, you're taking the weight of the whole machine across your body, absolutely fine for, you know, long periods of work. It's got a quick release clip here, got the little buckle. Now let's bring this back so you can see. You've got a row of several holes here, and depending on where the balance is in the individual is where you would put this clip. So it'll clip on there, or there at the two extremes, or somewhere in the centre normally works for me, and that would be the normal height for working. Now I'll just show you how it clips into the harness. Little tag here, fits over there, little red loop drops in, whatever you've got there will hang from that harness. So it should still a little bit low, that's better for me. So just show a point, difficult to show in this confined area, but that's the sort of idea where I'd have it. Now that's obviously got no head in, so it's going to be heavy that end, but that's the sort of idea. So as you can see, it locates in, you can move it left and right, up or down, whatever suits yourself, depending on, you know, what feels comfortable. And to release, pull out the tag, I'll show you that again. Okay, tea time now, I'm going to put the machine down. Oh, let's do another cup of tea, pull the tag, done. Simple as that, quick release mechanism. Okay, so next thing to do is go through the starting procedure for it. So, I'll just remove the harness. Let's just turn it around the other way, make it easy for you to see. First of all, on-off switch. Number 1 and a 0. Number 1 is on, 0 is off. No need to do anything at all with the throttle, nothing at all. Number 1, switched on. Having filled it with fuel at the 40:1, as we mentioned earlier on, 2-stroke fuel, the next thing to do is to prime it. Now I'll tip it up on its side to see if you can see, but there's a primer bulb just underneath the air filter here. You need to push this primer bulb probably 10 to 15 times, and you'll see the two little fuel pipes here, the fuel sucking up and returning to the tank. So as you're doing it, once you've got, you know, clean fuel without too many bubbles returning to the tank, it's ready to start. Next thing, from a cold start, the choke lever. This is choke off in the down position, and up here is choke on. So with a cold engine, choke on. If it's been running for 10 minutes or so, you can probably start it without the choke. But choke on, choke off. So to start it, switch on, primed, choke on, and then pull the pull starter. I'm not going to start it here. There's no fuel in it anyway, but I'm not going to demonstrate the pull starter. But pretty much you need to pull it out until you feel resistance. Back in. Now it's a nice soft start on this, so it doesn't take a great deal of pulling. But put it on a smooth, flat surface, preferably on the ground. Good grasp of the machine with the one hand and pull the pull cord with the other, and the machine will start up. You know, if it's stone cold, it may be 1-2 pulls maybe, but typically if you've already started it that day, 1 pull will start it up, no problem at all. And the engine will then be ticking over. Leave it for a few seconds and turn the choke off by pushing the lever down. And the engine should just tick over gently without the head spinning. So basically when the engine is ticking over, without pulling the throttle, we don't want this head rotating at all. So it should just sit there, that won't turn at all. When you then pull on the throttle, I'll explain the throttle to you. The throttle has 2 parts. So you have to grab it completely with your hand. This is the lock. So that has to be in for you to be able to pull the throttle to rev it up. Let me just show that. If I don't push that in, that doesn't move, it locks, it stops. If I push that in, it will then rev. So that's the throttle. So the more you pull it back, the faster the engine goes. And then when you release, the engine goes back to a tick over and the head will stop rotating. So that's the throttle, the starting procedure. When you want to stop the engine, you let go of the throttle, let it go back to the tick over position and switch the engine off. I must mention never to leave it unattended, certainly with the engine running, because a rotating blade and what have you can be quite dangerous in the wrong hands. Okay, for the next thing we're going to do is talk about some of the wonderful features on this machine. I tell you what, I'll start with anti-vibration handle. You'll notice a lot of trimmers you'll see just the pole from the engine down and the handle's mounted on the pole. This one has this whole body unit which makes it an anti-vibration handle. So the handles you're holding are not attached to the drive shaft at all. The drive shaft runs through the middle and you're insulated from it. And if you're using it for long periods of time, you've not got that vibration through your arms, which can be quite fatiguing. So, great feature of this anti-vibration handle. Another feature which I mentioned earlier on is this quick release mechanism here. It's a real sturdy, robust job. Very positive lock. I mean, as you saw, we push it in, rotate the blade. If it's out of position, you get a real positive click. Do up the hand wheel, and it really does lock the shaft solidly into position so your two halves go together solidly. We'll talk about the engine in a moment. Another feature with this, we did mention the adjustable positions for the harness to sit in so you can get the right balance for yourself depending on where you are. And again, as we mentioned earlier on, that handle can be moved left and right, back and forth to adjust the individual really, so what feels most comfortable in your hands. You know, you'll soon get a feel for where you want things when you're using it. You know, if you're going to be using it for several hours, you might think, oh, well, that's a bit far over. Bring it back, tilt it back if you want to be further up towards your harness or further out from yourself, depends on your arm length. So multiple adjustments can be made on the handle and on the centre of gravity where the weight sits in relation to the harness. Let's talk about the engine. Now, as I just mentioned, it's got a nice soft start. You know, it's a simple, easy start. It's not a real arm wrencher trying to start this thing. It's only a small engine and it's very simple to start, as we saw. Now, this is a 50.8cc engine. Now, you'll see a lot of machines out there with a 52cc engine. You might think, oh, bigger is more power. Not the case. This engine is quite a modern developed designed engine at 50.8cc, and it actually produces 1800 watts of power. Most of these 52cc ones produce 1400 watts of power. Another 400 watts of power. Consequences of that is you don't have to run the throttle flat out to get the same amount of power, so you're not working the engine as hard, it's going to last longer and all the rest. Again, it uses less fuel than these 52cc engines. I haven't got the exact figures with me, but I believe, so they say, with general use over the life of the machine, with two-stroke oil and fuel, you could save a couple of £100 on your fuel costs because of the efficiency of this engine. So that's about the engine. Oh, another great thing, this engine's actually a Euro 2 rated engine. There are two classifications of Euro 2. One is for sort of domestic use Euro 2, which is, it refers to its emissions. And then you've got the Euro 2 semi-professional category. This actually falls into the semi-professional category. I believe the way they do that is that they test it for a longer period of time to make sure that it does stay within the emissions regulations over a longer period of time. I think it's something like 25 hours for a standard Euro 2, and I think for the Euro 2 semi-professional it's about 100 hours of testing. So they'll run the engine for 100 hours and then make sure it still complies with emissions rules. So it is a Euro 2 but semi-professional version of Euro 2 engine. So it's a real cracking bit of kit. The other thing, easy to service, the kit comes with a spare spark plug and a screwdriver. You'll notice a little black cover on the top here. You basically remove the black cover, you can get access to the spark plug off with the cap, spark plug spanner, remove the spark plug, comes with a new spark plug as well. So it's another great feature. Another thing, really good, I like this is one of my favourite bits. You see it's got this heavy duty plastic and it's really solid plastic tank guard. A lot of other manufacturers don't have a tank guard, so if you were to drop it, and this is only a thin polypropylene tank, same as everybody else's near enough, you were to drop it on a sharp object, you'll put a hole for through your fuel tank. This has got a really good sturdy tank guard which protects the tank. So you know, less likelihood that if you do drop it, you're going to cause a problem. And also, it's got 3 holes here, which you can use, if you can imagine, a couple of screws on your wall at home, in your garage or what have you, and you hook it on, dunk, against your garage wall, it's out the way. Not going to get damaged, not knocking around on the workbench, getting in your way. You can hook it on a screw on the wall. Brilliant for storage. Okay, well, thank you for purchasing your new Hyundai HYBC5080AV brush cutter. Don't forget to register your warranty. And all I can say is I've been Adrian, and happy gardening.